Imagine if you sold one of your original ideas to someone else and they end up becoming a multi-millionaire from that product or idea. Tonight I'm going to tell you a really unfamiliar story about a very familiar product, Coca-Cola. You see, Coca-Cola has a history, a chemical makeup, and also has effects on our bodies that most of us know nothing about. So first let's talk a little bit about the history. Coca-Cola was founded in Atlanta by a pharmacist named Dr. Pemberton. Dr. Pemberton actually had a rough time getting started with his Coca-Cola industry as he faced a court case against his product and his formula. They assumed that the formula had way too much cocaine in the formula, so he went to court with the case. He actually had Georgia Tech football players show up and fight alongside with him during that court case. And he actually won the court case with agreements to change the formula just slightly. 2 years after this new formula was compiled, he actually sold that formula to a businessman in Atlanta called Asa Candler. Asa Candler is the one who actually turned Coca-Cola into the amazing industry and company that we know it as today. This success is due mostly, people say, to his advertising techniques that Candler had. He always attributed the company and the products to an idea of family, happiness, and friends. He used slogans like "Open up happiness" and "Experience the magic" to win over the hearts of people everywhere. As this icon of happiness began to portray Coca-Cola as a whole, it just grew on the world more and more. And as the more and more customers poured in, more products and successful products poured out, kind of like Diet Coke. Diet Coke was first introduced to the world in 1982, and only 4 years later, it became the world's most top-selling Diet Cola in the whole entire world. And it actually still holds that title today. So now, let's take a little look about exactly what is in that bottle of happiness. Caffeine, citric acid, and aspartame are 3 elements of Diet Coke that most people look over. Caffeine in our society is often viewed in a positive light for energy or extra focus, but actually it has a very negative effect on the body. You see, caffeine causes us to be very dehydrated, and our body sometimes mistakes that dehydration for hunger, and then we end up drinking past when we are full. Citric acid, if you've ever seen the way a bottle cap candy reacts to Diet Coke in a bottle, you can see the acidic formula that Diet Coke has inside. And so this citric acid has the same effect on our bodies. It leaches our bodies from the essential minerals that are inside. A very important essential mineral is iodine, and iodine helps our thyroid gland stay healthy and stay functioning. And if our thyroid gland starts to become weak or unhealthy, it actually causes our metabolism to slow down. And with a slower metabolism, we actually think that we aren't full when we actually are. Our body tends to eat and digest food slower than we intake it. So we end up drinking after we are already full. Everything these days seems to cause cancer, so why not Diet Coke too? Aspartame is an element in Diet Coke that people have connected to brain cancer. And throughout the years, they haven't quite finalized that connection yet, but they're still working on it and still testing those. Aspartame is the substitute for sugar in Diet Coke. And these substitutes for sugar seem great to consumers from first glance, but actually they're quite harmful. The brain reacts to this false sugar by telling the liver that it's about to have an intake of sugar, pure sugar. And when the liver never receives that sugar, the liver sends a message to the brain to tell the brain to eat more and that it's hungry, that the body is hungry, when actually the body is completely full. So we end up drinking after we are full. Now that we've talked a little bit about what exactly is inside that little bottle of happiness, let's talk about some wild statistics that has happened from those chemical makeup. Weight gain, we talked about, those 3 elements cause, but also there's another cause of weight gain through Diet Coke. Artificial sweeteners also trigger the release of insulin, extra release of insulin, and body to go into a fat storage mode. So just from Diet Coke, our body tends to store fat faster and quicker and longer. At the University of Texas, they discovered that within the span of a decade, 70% of the people who were intaking Diet Coke had an increase in waist circumference compared to the non-drinkers of Diet Coke. So, kind of makes more sense that that polar bear has a big old belly in those commercials. The next statistic is that people that drink Diet Coke once a day have a 36% increase in the risk of metabolic syndrome. Now, metabolic syndrome can be the cause of many symptoms such as diabetes, heart attack, or stroke. So, no good, and all from one little bottle. The last fact that I would like to tell you about is how aspartame and anecdotal are associated with migraines. And I myself get migraines frequently, but not necessarily from Diet Coke. But this drink is directly associated to those types of headaches, and people end up trying to heal those headaches with more Diet Coke, which just feeds into the addictive power that the soda has as well. So people are drawn to this little soda because of the promise of no calories, when actually you go into detail with the list of side effects and things that go on inside your body. They're actually kind of wide and very wearisome. I hope that I have given you a little bit more insight into the history, the chemical makeup, and the physical effects that Diet Coke has on the human body. Now, Diet Coke, along with everything else, is healthy in moderation, but we always should be really careful about the things we put in our body and know exactly what those things are doing to our body. I hope you can leave here today with more knowledge about what exactly is inside that little bottle of happiness, and also I hope you can leave here today more cautious about maybe your great ideas and chemical formulas that you might tend to sell one day, because they might be $1 million companies soon too.